flags of terror groups been waved so brazenly down the Harbour Bridge, or we saw that this, you know, what happened at the Sydney Opera House days after the Hamas attacks.
I don't like clowns.
Tim, paint us a picture of what's happening in the UK.
Well, there's been a lot of concern about mass immigration, huge numbers of immigration from other countries coming to the UK, particularly illegal immigration. This is people coming in on small boats over the channel from France. There's been 50,000 people in the last 12 months that have come into the country that way. No real checks on who they are and what they're doing and where they're from, and often without any papers, all this kind of stuff. And then what's really annoyed people is that they're being put up in hotels for free, with free food and free expense money and free healthcare and dental care and all of these other things.
Having people pay you for the privilege of...
And causing social problems. And there are stories of increased crime levels. Obviously, huge. You know, the vast majority of these immigrants are men, and they're coming into the towns, and they've not got anything to do, and they're getting illegal jobs. But then there are also allegations of rapes and sexual assaults and all of this kind of thing around these hotels, as well as, you know, we've now become, I think, the phone stealing capital of Europe, more than any other country in the world, and various other crimes as well. And so it has reached a kind of boiling point about these hotels. People feel very angry, like, why are these, you know, I work hard to, you know, provide for my children and my family and my wife and all this, and these migrants just come in here illegally, and they get put up in a nice hotel, they get free food, they get free healthcare, they get free whatever, and they can just do whatever they want. And surely this is not fair.
No shit.
And what really brought it to a head is a particular hotel in a place called Epping, here in the outskirts of North London. And there's a hotel there, and there has been alleged sexual assault by one of the residents at this hotel, which is full of illegal immigrants. And the local council has complained that this is disrupting the local community, has complained to the government, so we don't think this is a suitable place for you to be housing these immigrants. And the government said, well, kind of, you know, don't care, you still got to do it. And then there were protests outside the hotel because of this alleged sexual assault that happened. And then there was a legal case brought against the government by the local council saying, you should not be housing these illegal immigrants in this hotel. They won initially in the court and got an injunction to stop housing any more illegal immigrants. And then just today, as we're talking today, just a few hours ago, the government won and overturned that ruling that they should be allowed to house immigrants in that hotel. And they actually argued in court that the rights of immigrants trump the rights of the local residents.
Holy shit, that's insane.
Which is, people are very, very shocked about. And then everyone's talking about the government against the people. The government, who is the government on the side of? Are they on the side of the people of the country, or the people who come from outside the country to use up our resources and come into these hotels and so on? And it just looks like the government is against the people, against the will of the people, and against the will of the local council.
Isn't it obvious? Traitors. Damn right.
In Epping, in that area. And so this has caused a huge sort of fuss. It's been the main headline news for some weeks now through the summer. Here in the UK, questions about what we're going to do about these immigrants. People starting to talk about the need to deport large numbers of them and provide proper disincentives for people to come to this country and not house them in hotels, but have centres or residence centres or maybe army barracks or something like that, or do something like that to house them, because it's just become a source of huge tension here in the UK. And nobody wants to live near one of these migrant hotels. Those who do live near them are very upset about them and complaining about them. And the government just appears to be on the side of foreign people coming into the country and giving them the rights they deserve over against the rights of the people who live in the country already.
Exactly what is happening.
But first, tens of thousands of people marched in cities across Australia today to show their pride in Australia and to call for a stop to mass immigration.
The government's supposed to work for us, the people. We don't want half there not going on, so we're making a stand today to make things right. Because Albo, you work for us, mate, and you've got to go.
Yeah, Australians turned out in force despite the fear-mongering from politicians and the media.
Australia is a nation of foreigners.
Save the rhetorical bullshit.
Globalists.
Just like that wonderful song says, from all the lands on earth we come. And Australia isn't a place where we walk with Nazis. Australia is a place that went to war with Nazis.
Women.
Weak men.
Never let them lead.
We absolutely condemn the March for Australia rally that's going on today. It is not about increasing social harmony. We think, and I think the vast majority of the Australians think that multiculturalism has been a good thing for our country.
Absolutely not.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
Labor politicians should have had more faith in their fellow Australians.
At one point in Melbourne, pro-Australia protesters even came face-to-face with pro-Palestinian protesters. Have a look.
There's a lot to unpack in the events of today, but let's start with the key concerns, it seems, of the majority of people who marched around Australia. They're upset that mass immigration has replaced controlled immigration. There was no one that I heard or saw who was anti-immigration. They were anti-mass immigration. And the other concern is that multiculturalism has clearly replaced assimilation. As a result, our country is changing. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. We've got ethnic enclaves around the country. We've got civil unrest every weekend, pro-Palestinian protests. Crime is clearly up as a result of mass immigration in certain areas. And we're continually told on top of that Australia is built on stolen land and that our history is something to be ashamed of. Is it any wonder then that so many regular mums, dads are upset? For Murray Watt to come on Sky News this morning and say that these protests were just as a broad brushstroke hateful and divisive is disingenuous. He knows very well that the vast majority of people are not at all hateful. But even Brad Batten, the Victorian opposition leader, said anyone who's anti-immigration is racist. Well, that's the most stupid thing to say. Immigration is a policy. It's not an indictment on a certain ethnic group. You could be anti-immigration without being racist. And so for the Victorian opposition leader to just write off large numbers of people like that is just silly.
Majority of people at these protests were everyday Aussies who've quite frankly had a gutful of this country being overrun by absolute madness, out of control, runaway immigration policy. I mean, we've had more than 1.1 million immigrants come into this country since Labor was elected. And let's be realistic, but we can't sugarcoat this, James. There have been people who've brought into this country, some who hate us, some who hate our values, some who have absolutely no interest in assimilating in this country. So I say good on those people for getting out there and taking a stand. In fact, I think this marks a pivotal moment. I was actually heartened to see all of those Australian flags. People had them draped over them. They were waving them proudly. Thank goodness, finally, we're seeing some Australian pride.
Well, where was Murray Watt calling out the pro-Palestinian rallies as hateful and divisive?
Well,
but if an Aussie flag gets waved, all of a sudden it's an extremist behaviour.
And this is the point I want to make, because let's be honest, it is not hateful to wave the Australian flag.
Of course not.
It is not hateful to love your country. It is not hateful to be proud of your country. Yet you've got the left who peddle this ridiculous narrative that it's racist to wave the Australian flag. Honestly, it's like they tie themselves in knots of guilt constantly. The absolute self-loathing is out of control.
I hate myself.
And secondly, it's also not hateful to to bring up the fact that people are worried about the state of this country when you've got flags of terror groups being waved so brazenly down the Harbour Bridge, or we saw what happened at the Sydney Opera House days after the Hamas attacks.
You know what woke means? It means you're a loser. Everything woke. Everything woke. It's true. Everything woke turns to shit, okay? It's true. It's true. Look at what's happening.
Doesn't understand what you're saying. It's not. I feel like you're talking about me.
Okay, well, we're not. This is just the language we speak to each other.
It's very nice. I appreciate and I really like the spoken Irish. But when you speak 5 words in English, then in Irish, I feel uncomfortable. I feel like you're talking about me.
Okay, well,
I don't like. I speak few other. I speak 5 languages. I will never speak another language in front of somebody else, just because I don't like the person feeling that I'm talking about them.
Yeah, of course, but like, we're not talking about you. We only speak Irish to each other. So
yeah,
I'm sure if you were getting a taxi with someone, you probably would not be speaking to them in a different language.
If that person doesn't speak another language, I have no problem. So when you speak English and then straight away you're speaking a couple of words.
That's too bad.
Now piss off.
It is a messed up world.